I'll tell you what I think of from a business perspective, what value is. I fly somewhat frequently. And so there's three things that I judge about. One is safety. I don't want to end up in the Potomac. That's not negotiable. That's one part of the value. But really, whether I fly Southwest, American, United, Delta, that is a given. They should land me in the airport they promised to land me after I pay for the ticket.
Uh-huh.
Then there's experience. And I'm not wealthy, so I'm not going to be paying for first class seats to fly from here to Nebraska. I just there's no value. In the same bus. I'm going to get there in this at the same time as everybody else on the plane. What is it that I am paying for? But for someone else who's much wealthier than me, the comfort of being in first class or the show office of it so they can post a picture on Instagram has value.
Mhm.
And then, of course, there is that is something that it's hard to quantify.
It's subjective.
And then there's a service component, right? I've got some airlines I like better than other airlines. They seem to treat you better, or I'm a frequent flyer with them and I get bonus points and I get perks. So that to me is how I think of that. That's very difficult in medicine, particularly in preventive medicine, the
Mhm.
young adult and the children,
Mhm.
because it's a given. We don't want our doctor to give us something that kills us. That's fly the plane
That's a
and
no-brainer.
that's a no
But
brainer.
but
But
unfortunately, not everybody practices that way.
no, but that should be a given. That should
Yeah.
not be something up for discussion.
Mhm.
But the customer might want extra service, like being in first class, like I want to be seen at 7 p.m. because it's convenient for me, but I'm not willing to pay a dime more for that. I'm going to pay the same as if I was seen at 10 a.m. And I want this clinician, not that clinician, but I'm not willing to pay a dime for that. And that's where the disconnect is. So that's big picture.
Sure. But
Uh,
it's not
smaller,
I
smaller
think
picture to us is that it's a ruse from the insurance companies where it says you should provide value-based medicines for value-based payments. What are you valuing is what you alluded to a second ago, right? How much money did we save the system so that we can get the bonuses for the C-suites and the insurance plans?
and I think that
That's
depends
not
on how the
value.
contract is written, you know? So, if you're in a shared savings model ACO and you're not in a all ages ACO, right? Like we are, you're just in a pediatric ACO, you're there's that might be valuable to the insurance company, but there's no savings to be made. It's so small that it's not a feasible way of paying pediatrician. On the other hand, if you are into adult end of life care, you might be able to save a ton of money. And it doesn't make sense necessarily to do shared savings for that either, because it's too balanced on the other side. But if the value-based payments are predominantly based on we see the quality of your care as having a long-term value, then that is how we should be doing it. And I think the big problem is that we're not actuaries, right? We don't have that level of expertise. We would have to hire that out. Insurance companies are in the business of hiring actuaries and looking at risk. And they are not interested in looking out at risk 10, 20, 50 years because they're looking at their 1 year time frame. And we should be doing more to look at the financial impact of the care that we're giving now and how much money it's going to save into the future. And then based on that, figure out how we pay people. That's what I think. If you're going to do it on a monetary standpoint, you have to look at total savings. So if I get 75% of my adolescent patients vaccinated for HPV, how much money does that save on the system for all the patients who weren't going to get cervical cancer and anorectal cancer and or pharyngeal cancer, but mostly cervical cancer, right? So what is that impact? So I think that's where if you're really going to look at shared savings as the model, that's where it should be going. I think that's impossible.
Okay. So you're gonna have to go humor me and listen to
Okay.
the Dr. McQueen's episode on these ideas, because it blew my mind away, and it was he was flying at 30,000 feet, and I could
Uh-huh.
only reach 2,000 feet with what he was talking about. It was just another it was another level. We agree. What I'm
Yeah,
saying is
totally.
the work that a pediatrician does, if they're doing the work properly,
Mhm.
has a tremendous impact in their community. And every little thing that we do, if we're doing it right, has a huge impact. It is extremely difficult to measure that impact because some impact doesn't have a dollar attached to it.